Welcome back to another episode of Opal Wave MTG. I am your host, Jacob, and this is the battle version of Be'lakor. If you want to check out the skirmish version, which is the lowest tier, check that out. You can compare the two lists. And with that, let's go ahead and jump right into this battle version of Be'lakor. So the first thing you're going to notice moving from that skirmish version to the battle version is that I am, reducing the lower impact demons in favor of some of the higher impact demons. And another thing I'm doing is I'm starting to, cheat the costs on these demons just a little bit. And by that, I mean we've gone with a little bit of a reanimator strategy, stuff like reanimate. Buried Alive could put that in the graveyard, command the Dread Horde. As long as you have enough life, you could potentially get a really big, bunch of demons out at the same time. Get a lot of Be'lakor triggers. Stuff like Animate Dead and Necromancy can also do that. As well as this Whip of Erebos, which has a really cool thing of giving your creatures lifelink, which is going to be huge. Just like in that skirmish version where we had the Tiefling guy. With Erebos is going to let our Be'lakor deal a bunch of damage with our demon triggers, but also gain us life back, so we don't have to worry too much about the life loss that Be'lakor does on that first ETB. So Be'lakor is a Grixis demon noble with flying, 6/5. When he enters the battlefield, you draw cards equal to the number of demons you control, and you also lose that much life. And then whenever another demon enters the battlefield under your control, you're going to deal that much damage to any target, actually. So it's super sweet. So moving on to our creatures, we've got the Abhorrent Overlord, which is going to be able to make a bunch of 1/1 harpies when equal to your devotion to black when it enters. Great for making blockers. Or even some like sacrifice fodder for Razaketh if you really need to. Stuff like Arcfiend of Despair and the Sower of Discord are going to make players take a ton of damage, especially since Sower can kind of soul bond two players if it were. So when one player takes damage, the other chosen player also loses that much life. So when you're shooting people down with Be'lakor, you get to deal that extra damage. So when Arcfiend enters the battlefield, you're going to deal 6 damage with Be'lakor. And then even if you don't do any other damage that turn, they're going to lose 6 more damage. So the turn it enters with Be'lakor, you're going to deal 12 damage, which is a ton of damage. We've added stuff like Deadeye Navigator, which can flicker our Be'lakor, which is really nice synergy, but we also can use Be'lakor as an infinite mana outlet with the Deadeye Navigator. So if we get the Peregrine Drake plus the Deadeye Navigator, we can flicker our Peregrine Drake, make a bunch of, or infinite mana rather. With that infinite mana, we can cast our Be'lakor. We'll draw a card. Even if we don't have any other demons out, we'll draw at least one card, since he is a demon, or it is a demon rather. And then from there, we can flicker Be'lakor, and as long as we, have enough life, we can keep drawing cards, and hopefully you will have drawn at least another demon at that point, and you can flicker the demon, and then you can just deal infinite damage to the table. So a really nice combo there. We've still got a Gray Merchant in case there's some kind of stacks piece, or for some reason we don't have access to Be'lakor. We can use that to gain, drain the table with our Deadeye Navigator. We can also use it to gain a bunch of life, which again is really important since we are going to be losing life off of our Be'lakor triggers. Since we do want to flicker Be'lakor a little bit more, get some extra value off of our commander, we've got stuff like Thassa's Deep Dwelling, as well as a Ghostly Flicker that can, flicker our commander and get us some extra value. Gonna be really nice. Stuff like Dream Devourer, we've kept the Herald of Slaanesh since they can reduce the cost of our demons essentially. We've also had a Spark Double, which is super sweet with Be'lakor, since we're going to be dealing double damage essentially. They're both going to trigger when a demon enters, going to deal a ton of damage to the table. And again, I've kind of upgraded our demons, and I'm not just running demons because they're demons, since we are in this battle tier and we're trying to make some upgrades more or less. Stuff like Lord of the Void is going to be really good. Again, we've got these other demons, the Demon Lord Belzinglock. Yeah, I said that right. It's going to give you some really nice card advantage. When you're looking at cuts, you want to ask yourself, how much value is this generating on its own, and then kind of moving forward from there when you're making your cuts. Tarn Mauler is also another sweet one, something you can get down early. It's going to get a bunch of counters on it, and you can start swinging at people. Then we've also got the Varagoth, which can do some tutoring every turn. A really sweet card here. And then we've also got a Shieldred. Since we are doing a little bit of the reanimate type of stuff, we have ways to kind of put these creatures in our graveyard with the Tomb and Buried Alive. It's not only going to make our opponents have a hard time, especially against like the Voltron strategies. It's going to be able to, kind of build back after a board wipe as well. So really nice. Another combo in the deck we have is with Dualcaster Mage. So we can do that with Ghostly Flicker. So if we have our commander out with Dualcaster and hopefully another demon, we can cast our Ghostly Flicker targeting probably just Bell Liquor and another creature, and then in response we'll cast our Dualcaster Mage, and from there the Dualcaster Mage is going to copy Ghostly Flicker, which is going to copy the Dualcaster Mage, flicker the Dualcaster Mage plus another demon, and from there you can continue to flicker Dualcaster Mage and another demon and deal infinite damage to the table, or you can just flicker your commander, the Bell Liquor, and hopefully draw a bunch of cards, maybe find a different win con, since you can't really flash demons in this deck. Maybe if you had like an Emergent Zone or a Ley Line of Anticipation, you could probably do that. But yeah, we can also use the Gray Merchant to drain the table as well with this combo. Moving on to our sorceries, we've still got the Blasphemous Act in the deck. Buried Alive, like I said before, is part of our reanimate type of sub thing here, since we want to be cheating the costs on our big demons. We've added a Demonic Tutor for a little bit of tutoring power, Dreadbore for removal, and again we've got that Command of Dread Horde for the late game comeback. Moving to our instance, we've still got some of the 3-cost instances here, but we have made some nice upgrades in terms of adding some of the 2-cost removal stuff like Terminate, Abrade, an Offer You Can't Refuse, Wild Magic Surge, Counterspell is still in the deck. And like I said, we've still got some of the 3-cost stuff, the really strong stuff that like Bedevil, that can deal with a lot of different permanents, or Counterflux, which it's a counterspell that can't be countered, so super sweet there. And we got a Negate to stop like our opponent's board wipes or stuff like that. Moving on to our artifacts, we've reduced our 3-drops and we've included extra 2-drop rocks so we can accelerate our game plan just a little bit faster. We've still got the Gilded Lotus and the Hedron Archive, and we've still got that Whip of Erebos, which can reanimate demons, which is super strong, but we can also return gives our creatures lifelink, which, like I said before, is going to be super important since Bellicor is going to be training us for a lot of life. Being able to recoup some of that is going to be really good. Moving on to our enchantments, we've got the Animate Dead, we've got the Necromancy for some cheap reanimation type stuff. We've still got the Reflections, the Kindred Discovery, and the Liliana's Contract, all going to be really great cards in this demon tribal type of deck we're going for. We've still got the Sunbirds. I think this card is super powerful, especially when you have a lot of higher costing demons. Once you get the ball rolling with this, it's just going to run away with a game. And then we've also added this Verity Circle, which will draw cards when our opponent's creatures become tapped, as long as they are not attacking. So against like mana dorks or creatures with tap abilities, it's gonna be a really great way for us to draw cards, and then we can also pay 5 and tap target creature without flying. So if we really want to draw some cards, maybe we're in a weird spot, we can tap our opponent's creatures. Moving on to our lands. Moving from our skirmish version to our battle version, we've definitely we've decreased the number of lands that are going to be entering untapped, added in our fetch lands, our on-color fetch lands, as well as our on-color, well, you can't have off-color shock lands in the decks, but the shock lands, a little bit more cards that can, or lands that have the potential to enter untapped, produce a little bit extra colors of mana. But yeah, outside of that, pretty straightforward upgrades moving from that skirmish version. And that's going to be the battle version of Bellicor. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the glory version of Bellicor, which is essentially CEDH. We'll have that here.